Recently, I published an audiobook expertly narrated by Norma Jean Gradsky called Analytic Truth versus Formal Truth. In today's podcast, I'd like to tell you just a little bit about that book, and then I would like to interview the narrator, the very, very talented and, in my view, somewhat undervalued narrator, Norma Jean Gradsky. So let me start by discussing the contents just a little bit. First of all, in this book, it is made clear what analytic truth is and how it differs from formal truth. Some important theorems are stated both comprehensively and accurately. I should point out that the theorems in question concern what is called incompleteness. Incompleteness is a property of sets of statements, okay, and it is a term often used by logicians. A complete statement set is one that can be defined recursively, and I'll tell you what that means in a second. An incomplete statement set is one that cannot be defined recursively. A recursive definition is one that has the following form. X belongs to class K whenever alpha belongs to K, beta belongs to K, where for some relation R, alpha bears R with respect to beta. So let me give you an example of what that means. Okay, let's suppose we want to define the term natural number. Well, first point is that 0 is a natural number. That's the first point. The next point is that if x is an arbitrary number, natural number, and x plus 1 equals y, then y is a natural number. Okay, so there we've given a recursive definition of the term natural number. And a formal truth is one that belongs to a recursively defined statement set. And a syntactic truth, an analytic truth is one that holds in virtue of entirely of its meaning. So, for example, an example of an analytic truth would be, let's see, what would an example be? There are infinitely many prime numbers. That's an example of one. Or there cannot possibly be law unless there is some form of government. Or a creature cannot be literate unless it is sentient. Or let's see, what would another one? There are not all continuous functions can be differentiated at any given point. That's another one. So analytic truths are sometimes obvious, but they don't have to be obvious. In fact, it can be proved formally that, or at least mathematically, that there is no limit to how non-obvious they can be. Now, a lot of you have probably heard of Gödel's incompleteness theorem, and Gödel's theorem is misunderstood. Gödel proved that there is no recursive definition of the class of arithmetic truths. Okay, so truths of arithmetic. A truth of arithmetic is one that concerns such interrelations among whole numbers as can be expressed in terms of the concepts less than, addition, multiplication, for some, for all, negation, conjunction, and disjunction. Okay, I realize I'm moving a little bit fast here. Now, what Gödel proved is that the class of arithmetical truths is not analytic, and he therefore proved, and he proved that by showing that there is no recursive definition of this class of arithmetic truths, and in so doing, he was also thereby proving that there is no recursive definition of the class of such truths. So what Gödel proved is precisely that there is no recursive definition of the class of analytic truths, even though any given class of formal truths can, for that very reason, be recursively defined. All right, so it's a somewhat technical book, but in the book itself, it is stated, pretty clearly and comprehensively. Norma, you narrated the book, and judging by your performance, I mean, you seem to understand every word. But did you understand everything that I just said right now?
No.
You did not. Okay, so and I think that sort of illustrates a paradox. Like, so is that because actors kind of, like, when you play a part as an actress, you know more than or like your part knows more than you do, or something like that? Like, how does that work? Because you seem to understand it when you're
Um,
reading it.
and I appreciate that, and I try to understand it. I've said this to you before. It's not my discipline, mathematics nor philosophy,
Right.
um, but um, it. I did have some understanding, enough understanding. Um, but you asked me if I understood what you just said, and it went really fast
It
for
did
me.
go a little fast.
Right.
No, but
But no, I the way that you wrote it and the way the examples in the book and the setup of the book where it was professor to student and the student coming across upon the understanding helped me understand it as well. So I won't say that it was all acting. Um,
that's right.
I enjoyed the character Max, and your student in the book, in the dialogue. And I really felt that I was coming to an understanding along with the character. I did.
Well, because what
I
happens
did.
with me is when I'm writing, okay, when I'm talking, that's one thing, but when I'm writing, I kind of enter into a special space, and when that happens, I mean, I really kind of shift gears. So even if I have enormous difficulty just articulating an idea in speech, it's not hard for me to do it when I'm sort of actually in my writing mode. And because I really just shift into a different gear. And
I see that too. I see that from
that's
listening
interesting.
to your explanation. And I think that, it's pointed to people that have the background to understand it, and it's understandable. But no, that's the great thing about your books is um, that you do make it understandable with your examples and some repetition. Examples, especially. And I really liked the dialogue, just the student asking you questions and a deeper explanation, and it worked. It worked. So for me, as a layperson and actor, I'm intelligent and have um, but
Right.
no background in your discipline and mathematics. So I was able to understand it as I narrated it. It was important to understand it, so I sounded like I did.
Right. And you did understand it. You certainly did understand it. Um, yeah, actually, dialogue form. I mean, I haven't really written too much fiction. I tend not to, but I really like writing dialogue. And and it does, and it works, right? Because when
Yeah.
I'm writing dialogue, they are dialogues, right? They're not like me attempting to wrench ideas in dialogue form. They are just dialogues. But
Yes.
it's an underused. It seems to me it's a really underused form. I mean, Plato wrote them. I mean, his dialogues were not all that dialogue-ish. They were more kind of monologues. But 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 it's a very underused form, and that always kind of struck me. Like, why aren't these? Okay, so yeah, obviously playwrights use it, but it seems to be enormously powerful for sort of pedagogical purposes, and yet I cannot remember the last time some professor, wrote a dialogue to illustrate a point.
I agree with you. I agree with you totally. And um, no, it really is helpful to because in your format of the dialogue, the questions and the explanations really help clarify things. It's real life. The
Yeah, that's
dialogue
right.
simulates real life. It's really helpful. I thought it was a very clever device. And you're right, it works well for pedagogy.
For pedagogical purposes, yeah.
Mhm.
I think actually your answer kind of gave me I think kind of tipped me off to why it is more people don't write dialogues, which is that in order to write dialogues, it's sort of like I think the people who can do that are kind of the same people who can do imitations. You have to be kind of playful and young at heart. You
Right.
have to be sort of because you have to let yourself flow, and it's sort of a little bit random, but not too random. It's not goofy, but you have to be a little bit kind of playful. And like these professors are, I mean, there was this professor of philosophy named John Perry, not a dumb guy by any means, but he tried to write a dialogue, and it was so bad. I mean, because it was a non-dialogue that just consisted of cut and pasted, snippets. It
No
just didn't
flow.
it just didn't work. Yeah. But
No flow and no authenticity.
not nothing. Yeah, it was just
Yeah.
yeah, it was just wretched. Because it just doesn't work. And but you do have to. Yeah, because it's sort of funny because I sort of like I do imitations and just kind of do them naturally, and it's amazing how few people do them. You know, and my girlfriend actually told me that it had to do with having a kind of childlike kind of mentality. Um,
It's fun, huh?
yeah,
Yeah.
I think that may be true.
I've heard some of your imitations, and they're just totally silly.
They're pretty
That's
silly.
right.
Well,
They're pretty
they're,
silly and fun. I like
right.
that about you.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly. And
Right.
now I have to ask you a question. So as a narrator, I mean, I know that you don't exactly self-categorize as an actress, but you are an actress,
Yeah.
um, and that's very clear. By the way, I should point out one thing. And I don't know that you know this, Norma, which is that so I've worked with a lot of voiceover people. These people who self-identify as professional voiceover people, and okay, so and they don't intonate, they don't do anything. They're just straight reading it. right? And like, let's say there's a typo in what I'm saying, they'll just read through it. And then when I listen to the the tracks, and I'm like, well, why'd you read that? There are like three ises in a row. They're like, well, that's what you had on the page, man. I mean, I'm serious. They get mad at me. It's like, well, that's what you wrote. I just read it. It's like, well, dude, you're supposed to be an audio professional. I mean, the better ones, but this is maybe 1/5 of them. The better ones will say, look, I don't quite understand this passage. Is there a typo here? Did you really mean to have is? Or can I take, they'll be discreet, but the other ones will just read it and then they'll become piffy. Um,
If
I'm
you
serious. Can you believe that?
Yes, I think part of the dictum is that we are not to change the author's words, and
Oh, I see.
but common sense has to rule. And I bother you sometimes. I
Little,
ask for
very little.
permission before I edit something, and if I'm afraid it will change the meaning because it's a subject matter I'm not totally familiar with. I remember one I did recently, um, and it was, I guess you were giving a proof or an example, and it was an Euclidean. Oh, I can't remember, but the word
Oh,
"an" or
based
"a" was missing, and then I thought, well, maybe it's supposed to be missing, and so since it was a little "a," I left it out.
oh,
I didn't want to bother you with it, but I thought
no
maybe you would
wonder.
have
Yeah.
reviewed it.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So you might, I think it's the most recent book I did for you, so you might find that, and I can fix it later.
Well, no,
But
it's
yes,
already done.
there, I can tell by that
I like your
your
sound
your
effects though.
your
That's a better segment.
your workflow. I can tell that you just get going, and so you're writing. I mean, you're so prolific. You must write really quickly,
Yeah, so
and
I don't have time to proof it, right?
yeah. So I'm happy to do that as I go. But some narrators don't want to take on that responsibility.
A lot of the narrators on ACX, I'm going to try and bring this conversation back to things that I think will be of more general interest. But okay, so some of the people on ACX are real pros, okay,
Yes.
but most are kind of not, um, and man, I mean, some of them are not good. I don't know. Okay, let me ask you. So, as an actress, here's the thing I wanted to ask you. So, do you find so? Let's say you have to play some part that's um, so let's suppose that you have to play some character who knows a lot of things that you don't know, who's a completely different person. Do you find that when you're playing that character, you actually did know all of those things, you just weren't able to kind of access them?
Hmm. Well, that's an interesting question. Um, Not always, no. Um, uh, I'm a great researcher. If I don't know something, I'll try to figure it out. I'll try to learn about it. Um, I I do a lot of prep for any
Oh,
part
okay.
I do. So, but uh, to say no, not always.
Okay. Let me ask you a slightly different question. So, if a character, um, let's let's suppose that there's some character who resembles you or seems to resemble you. Now,
Hmm.
is it easier for you to play that kind of character than it is to play a character who bears no resemblance to you, or does the kind of assumption that of presumption of similarity actually make it harder? In other words, do you actually do a better job if you really have to kind of not base it on yourself?
Oh, that's another interesting
Yeah,
question about for narration.
yeah. Well,
Um,
either I don't know, narration, anything.
for narration, because of the sheer length
Right.
and the stamina needed, it is more helpful to narrate in a voice or a personage that's closer to yourself.
Okay. All
As
right.
far as narration goes, because some of those books are 10 hours long, and it's hard to maintain
Jesus. Yeah,
a
that's a long
different
time.
character. Doing quips and dialogues with different characters, you can manage, but it's just the sheer amount of hours and words spoken that it's really helpful to have a character close to your own vocal range, age, etc. That's super helpful. For acting, stage acting, what I did mostly, no, I like characters that are different. I like to create a new character.
Okay. All right. All right. And do actors have? Is there some kind of personality type that is common to actors, or could anyone or is there no correlation? I mean, could anyone be an actor, like in terms of?
Having taught students, acting students, yes, there's a character type.
Oh,
It's
tell me, tell me, tell me.
your extrovert, your well, extroverted. I'll just leave it at that.
Okay,
Um, I've had acting students that are not extroverts, and then sometimes I wonder what they're doing here, but maybe it's to push themselves um, to become comfortable. But um,
is
and
that
that,
is that
and that
really what you believe about them,
the ones that are there that
or do
are
you, or do you just think they're just bad actors who want to think that they're good actors, and you're trying to put a shine on it?
no. Well, I've had kids. I've had students like that. I say kids because my most
Sure.
recent experiences with high school students. And yes, there's bad actors. Um, and I used to believe,
Hmm.
even though I taught acting, but I used to believe as a student, look, you just got to have it. And then you hone your craft and perfect it.
Right.
If you don't have it, have the talent, and all of us have talent in different areas. I always encourage, but if you don't have it, I just figured you were lost. But I've been proven wrong and I've seen people
Really?
blossom into good actors. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is being a good actor, is that sort of a cognitive thing? Is that about having a kind of intelligence, or is it more an emotional thing, being kind of at ease with oneself in a certain way?
Well, it's both, and interestingly enough, sometimes being an extrovert, but I'd say actors are insecure, not really at ease with themselves.
Oh, interesting, interesting.
That's it. It is interesting. Um, and I forgot the question. I'm sorry.
That's okay. Let
So
me let me ask you a slightly more pedestrian question, which is okay. So you've done a lot of work for me, really top notch work. But now,
thank you.
what what is the kind? Well, what other sorts of work have you done
Um, in
as a
voice
narrator, as a
in
yeah,
voiceover world,
voiceover work? Yeah.
and not in stage or um, um, narration. Uh, I'm trying to think, but all but one of my published audiobooks have been narration, kind of straight narration like
Right.
yours are. Well, yours aren't straight narration. Yours have got some acting in it, some of them. All but one have been narration. Um, I'm dying to do characters in fiction, but I haven't landed those yet.
Yeah, I'm really puzzled by that. And tell us, so what would so like Anna Karenina? I don't know if that particular one is up for audition, but
What a wonderful book. Um, no, I've noticed that audible.com is reproducing some classics. Tom Sawyer just came out and it's just awesomely narrated. Um, so what other books I've been no, these are mostly that I've come across are I won't say new authors, they're contemporaries, they're contemporary works. A lot of them, and what I'm kind of attracted to um, for fun are like cozy mysteries, murder mysteries, etc. With
oh
some
yeah, you'd be perfect for that. Oh God, yeah, no, like
really well
Nora Ephron. What's
characters.
that lady's name? She wrote like A for Aardvark, or that series,
Oh,
Janet Ivanovich
Sue,
or something.
Sue
Sue
Grafton.
Grafton. Yeah, yeah. Oh yeah, you'd be perfect for that.
Yeah, I
Oh yeah,
love her characters, huh?
yeah. Why aren't you? Yeah, why aren't you doing that? You should. Wow. Yeah, that is. You would be perfect for that. God.
Well,
Wow. Oh
wait
yeah,
to see
that's
what comes
exactly.
up. I know what a great character that is. I read them all. I read
You
them
did.
all. I devoured them. I yeah. I
You
I'm
should
a serious reader. I'm well
reach out to
read,
her.
but I really enjoy the escapism.
Oh, have you thought about just reaching out? I mean, maybe this reaching
Yeah,
out to the authors directly.
I'm sure that's a good thought. You always give me inspiration, Dr. K, that I
Why
should
not? I mean,
that.
you
But
know,
I have to look. Perhaps I would assume Sue Grafton has them.
you don't. You don't. I don't think so. I think you're. I mean, maybe Sue Grafton does. Okay, but I mean, look. I mean, no. Most authors, even very very successful ones, are barely getting by, um, and they're not dumb people, and and they will. no, no, I think they would. Some will respond well, some will not. But I mean, they're authors. No, I think they would.
Yeah,
I
she
don't think.
seems like she would, huh, Sue Grafton?
I don't know her specifically. I mean, again, like she probably has so much publicity, like has all this marketing apparatus in place. But yeah, I think that
You would go through her publisher, I'm sure. Um,
maybe. Well, I don't. Maybe. I
well,
mean,
I'm not. You're right. I'm not
uh,
sure, but I would assume. Interesting. Interesting.
but the
Well, it
point is,
gives me
you don't have
idea.
to just go like I don't know what the protocols are, but just a slightly more aggressive. Um, just be a
I
little more
noticed
proactive.
in your introduction, you said, in your opinion, undervalued, and that
Yeah.
I don't. I'm feeling my way because it's new to me. Now, I'm well trained and well experienced as an actor and teacher. It's just a new medium for me. So I'm feeling my way, and you've given me lots of opportunity. And it's interesting that kind of landed upon you and your work because uh, I'm a, a, I'm an academic as
Right.
well, and so it's kind of an interesting choice. I guess I saw your title and I was instantly drawn to the first one to audition for it. So I'm auditioning for cozy murder mystery stories with great, leading lady characters, and then I see a priori knowledge and I gravitate right to that. It's interesting. I guess I'm two people in one, and that's good for all of us, to have multifaceted characters and interests.
Yeah, that is interesting. I mean, yeah, no, I definitely think you should do these. Actually, but I've had experiences like that with other people. Like, I mean, the other people who narrate my stuff, they're not, for the most part, they're not people who narrate academic things. I mean, if you actually look at what they've narrated, it's like, the life story of, it's like 200 confirmed kills, the life story of Jerry Smucker's Green Beret, things like that. I mean,
Yeah.
literally. But and they'll often say like, oh yeah, and then there was the guy who did the State Farm commercial, and I mean, actually, pretty well known guy, very well known guy, and he did a very substantial book of mine called Epistemology, Randy Whitlow, and he said, yeah, I like to, so I do he does all these commercial projects, big commercial projects, and he says, yeah, but every now and then I like to do something, that keeps my brain from rotting, so I'll do your thing.
Right.
So
And in discussions with colleagues, narrators like to audition for books that they're interested in, that they'd like to learn from, that they'd like to read. So yeah, it is interesting.
But I mean, the reason I'm kind of hard selling you to the public is it's not because I know you, which I don't really know you. I mean, yeah, I know you a little bit, but almost entirely through the projects we've done together. But the thing is that no, I think you do. Look, there are different kinds of narrators, there are different niches, but there is a certain niche that you really have down cold. I mean, just cold, which is the kind of murder she wrote niche. And a lot of people really want to hear precisely the kind of voice that you have. And I mean, precisely that. It's just a fact. Not everybody. I mean, not everybody's. It's not perfect for everything, right? But it would be just perfect for a pretty large class of things. And the other thing is that one reason that I like to work with you, that I like to use you, to put it infelicitously, is that because my material is actually quite difficult, but your voice kind of puts people at rest, right? So they don't feel stupid and challenged and berated and judged when you read it, right? But if somebody else reads it, they become defensive, right? Uh,
Uh,
and that's an enormously powerful thing from a marketing standpoint, because the number one thing is you don't want to make people feel dumb and judged, um, and your voice makes them not feel dumb and judged.
well, I understand what you're saying. I hadn't really thought about it, but and it might just be the veracity of it as I'm reading through it and narrating it and I'm learning it and I so it might just be honest, a little bit of confusion and then clarification and then the light bulb goes on and that's what I try to convey, at least in the dialogues. um, And it's true. That's what's happening as I'm reading your work.
Well, here I don't want to, I don't want to bore our listeners too much. So I just want to, I will make one last point, which is a kind of practical point. Look, I understand that it seems a little gauche to, kind of go directly to some author, right, and just say, hey, I'm a narrator. Let me narrate your stuff. That does seem a little, impolite or whatever, but impolitic. But look at it this way, right? If you land one of those deals, right? So if you go to Dean Koontz, I mean, not maybe he's not, number one in your list, but just suppose you did. You go to
Mhm.
Dean Koontz, right, and say, look, and he actually, as it happens, he's the kind of guy who actually would listen to you. Uh, just say, hey, look, I really liked, Mr. Murder. Uh, I mean, this guy's written a lot of books, and I don't know that any of them are. I can look on Audible, but I'm sure a lot of them are not yet being narrated. And just say, look, I want to narrate this book. That's $35,000 right there, right there. See, whereas if you do these little projects, right, it's very little, right? See,
I see what you're saying, and I always appreciate your
right?
encouraging me. I appreciate it. You make me feel confident, and
Just a thought.
you encourage me.
Yeah,
And
just a
I
thought.
know it's a good thought, and I'm sure it's been done. And there's no reason that you can't reach out to someone.
Absolutely, and you don't have to reach out, but I mean, as a general principle, right? I mean, one
Right.
big score
Right.
is worth a lot. So let me just wrap it up for my listeners, and then you and I will have a brief talk after, after. So hold the line, okay, Norma? I'm just going to wrap it up for my listeners here.
Very
Okay.
good.
All right. So this is my third interview with Norma Jean Gradsky, and Norma Jean has narrated many of my books, and so what were they? Analytic truth versus formal truth, Kant's ethics, a priori knowledge, non-empirical knowledge, and recently philosophical knowledge. A very very substantial book, and she did a hell of a job. And I just posted a little podcast about that one.
Oh,
And I
to
did,
see
yeah.
that.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, you'll see. And anyway, but now here's one more point, which is that I'm going to. Norma Jean has been kind enough to make some samples of her work available to me. Some of the more traditional work that she's done. So for me, the work has all been in the nature of logic and philosophy, but that's obviously not her primary bailiwick. She does it, as well as it can be done, but her primary bailiwick is, works of a more literary nature, which she really, really nails them, and she's really, really good with the characters. And the intonation is all just right, and the production quality is really good. But again, they're really well acted, and so I'm going to make a small promotional podcast in which I showcase some of these samples from Norma Jean's extensive repertoire. And if you want to get in touch with Norma Jean, now should I go ahead and give them the email we talked about, or should we hold off on that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what is that email again? It's N.
I'm in gradsky@gmail.com.
Okay, so that's N Gradsky. So that's Gradsky at gmail.com. Okay, so if you have projects for Norma Jean, you can go ahead and email her. And I think it'll very much be worth it. Okay.